I came to America with little English, and the army paid me anyway. Imagine stepping off of a plane in a new country, surrounded by people who talk faster than you can follow, filling out forms you barely understand, hearing jokes you cannot even laugh at because you don't get them. That was me. I knew little English, but not enough to feel confident. Every conversation felt like a test. Every job application felt like a war. Every day, I carried the fear of being left behind. Have you ever been in a room and felt invisible? Not because people didn't see you, but because you couldn't keep up with the walls. That was my reality. And in that place of fear, I made a decision that changed everything. I signed an army contract. And what the army gave me was not just a uniform. It was money. It was benefit. It was time to learn. It was leverage. It paid me while I figured out my place in this country. And that is why I say the US Army didn't just pay me. It gave me a bridge. On this channel, I show you how 3 years can buy you a lifetime back. Let me take you back. Being an immigrant with little English in America is like being dropped in the middle of a marathon when you didn't even know the race had started. Everyone else seems ahead. They know the shortcuts, the slang, the unspoken rules. You are still trying to read the signs. People tell you, just work hard. But how do you explain your skills if you can't explain yourself? I wanted a future, but I didn't even know how to ask for it. I applied for jobs and got silence. I walked into rooms and felt small. The shame of not understanding basic phrases ate at me. And then came the bills. Rent does not wait for your English to improve. Groceries don't slow down because you are still translating prices in your head. Pressure builds, fear builds. And in that pressure cooker, I saw the army as both a risk and a rescue. Here is the crazy part. The army didn't care that my English was not perfect. They cared that I showed up, signed the papers, and gave effort. They gave me a uniform, a paycheck, and a structure. They paid me while I still figuring out verbs and sentences. They gave me housing so I didn't have to panic about rent. They gave me food so I didn't have to panic about groceries. They gave me steady income so I didn't have to juggle multiple dead-end jobs. Do you know how powerful that feels when you have been on the edge? To know that money is coming, even when you are not fluent yet. It was like breathing again. But the army gave me more than paychecks. It gave me exposure. Every day I was forced to speak, listen, adapt. My English grew not because I sat in a classroom, but because I lived it. Orders, conversation, jokes, mistakes, they were all lessons. And while I learned, I got paid. Civilians pay for language school. Immigrants pay with humiliation and rejection. I got paid to learn on the job. Have you ever thought about how wild that is? That in America, the army can be your ESL class that pays you $1,000 a month instead of charging you tuition. That is what it was for me. And then came the benefit, disability compensation, GI Bill, VA loan. At first, I didn't even understand them. The paperwork was a maze. But once I dug in, I realized these were not just perks. They were lifelines. $4,544 a month. That's free for life. Over $2,500 a month while going to school. Tuition fully covered. Access to housing with $0 down. That is leverage civilians dream about. And I got it even though my English was broken when I signed. Think about that. I was scared to order food at a restaurant, but I still positioned myself for lifetime benefit. That is why I say the US Army didn't just pay me. It translated my sacrifice into stability. Now, let me show you the contrast. Without the army, my immigrant path would have been slow and brutal. Minimum wage jobs, struggling with applications, exploited because I didn't know my rights. Always behind, always tired, always doubting myself. Maybe you know someone like that. Maybe you are someone like that right now. With the US Army, I fast forwarded. I had guaranteed pay, guaranteed housing, guaranteed food. I had a structure that forced me to grow. And I had benefit that followed me even after I took off the uniform. That is not luck. That is literacy. That is knowing that one contract can leapfrog you past years of struggle. Let me ask you, how many immigrants do you know who came here chasing the American dream but end up cleaning bathroom, delivering food, working 3 jobs just to stay afloat? Too many. It is not because they are lazy. It is because they don't have leverage. They are playing the game on hard mode. They are paying rent with no relief, paying tuition with loans, paying taxes on every dollar. Meanwhile, veterans are stacking tax-free income, living rent-free with BAH, studying debt-free with GI Bill, buying house with $0 down. Which side would you rather be on? The side that is always one bit away from collapse, or the side that builds margin month after month? And let me speak to the pride. A lot of immigrants avoid the army because of fear. Fear of not understanding the language, fear of being yelled at, fear of not belonging. I felt that fear. I thought, how will I survive basic training if I can't even catch every word? But here's the truth. The army does not require perfection. It requires effort. It requires discipline. It requires showing up. You don't have to speak perfect English to march. You don't have to write essays to carry a rock. You don't have to debate to fire your weapon. You learn as you go. And by the time you get out, not only do you have a better English, you have a bank account that looks nothing like the broke version of you who landed at the airport. I remember my first month in America. Rent due, job application in your fear every time I answered the phone. And I remember my first month in the army. Same nerves, same struggle with words. But this time, my rent was covered, my food was covered, my bill were covered. My effort was being rewarded. Which fear would you rather live with? The fear of being broke with no help, or the fear of being stretched while someone pays you to grow? That is the question every immigrant should ask. And here is the part I want you to feel in your bones. The army didn't make me rich overnight. It made me stable. It gave me space to breathe. It gave me floor so I could climb. That $4,544 a month tax free, that didn't come from luck. It came from documentation. It came from filing. It came from refusing to let my accent or my broken grammar stop me from claiming what I earned. The $2,500 a month for school, same thing. I didn't wait until my English was perfect. I enrolled, I studied, I learned, and the army paid me for it. That is the hack. That is the bridge. So when I say I came to America with little English and the army paid me anyway, understand what I mean. I mean, I started at a disadvantage, but I found a system that erased the gap. I mean, I didn't need perfect grammar to get perfect deposits. I mean, I turned fear into fuel and build leverage where most people only find struggle. That is why I say the US Army was my bridge. And that is why I will never forget what it gave me. Have you ever felt like you are always behind, like everyone else had a head start and you are running to catch up? That is how I felt every day as an immigrant with little English. The army didn't just give me money. It gave me a head start. It leveled the race. It made me competitive. And once I learned the rules, it set me free. That is the truth. Not the recruiter's slogan, not the polished story, but the lived reality. The army paid me what I figured out. And if it could do that for me, it can do that for others too. The only question is whether you will use the bridge or keep drowning. The choice is yours. Drop a comment if you have any question about the army and I will answer them. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching to the end. Peace. I'm gone.